You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. Thank you so much for being here. We've got a couple of very, very interesting stories today. Before we get into the full story for this afternoon, I wanted to show you guys the 45th Space Wing's Twitter account, introduce you to them. This is the official Twitter account of Patrick Air Force Base and Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. Now, a viewer of mine on Twitter sent this over to me and wanted me to take a look. So it's a tweet. It's from September 3rd, and the tweet says, "Some of our defenders painted the Spirit Rock before closing down the base yesterday. We appreciate everything you do to keep us secure. Stay safe, all." Now, this right here shows a couple of gentlemen on the base, and they painted this rock with the message, "Defenders of the Storm." Now, not defenders from the storm, not defenders of the people, defenders of the storm. Now, I realize this is just before the hurricane came through, but why wouldn't they be defending the people of Cape Canaveral from the storm? They are defending the storm itself. This is a metaphor, not for the hurricane, but for the calm before the storm, the Great Awakening. This is another message from people in our military saying that they understand and know about our favorite Anon, all of it. So before we get into anything else, I have a brief word from my sponsor, and let's hear two more stories which back this idea up. Now, with 8chan gone and lots of confusion out there behind the scenes as to what is happening with the Q drops, QAnon supporters and those of you who follow him need something to cheer you up. As you know, the movement has gone from strength to strength since Q's first off-the-record post on the coming storm. Even if Q never gets to post again, you can keep the real thing alive with this. It's a very special celebration of an idea, of a movement like no other, brought to life here. Like Q, this coin has a hidden secret, and we'll get to that. Look at the old-fashioned American craftsmanship that has gone into all the details on this. It drips with hidden meanings, from the lightning flash in 17 to trust the plan. The other fun part is using the built-in AR technology, which lets you stream a video of Q's greatest hits by pointing your phone at the lightning symbol which comes with the coin. Get yours today. Demand is through the roof. They're selling out fast, and like Q, once they're gone, who knows when they'll be back. All right, everybody, thanks for sticking around. The first story has to do with something I heard on True Reporting the other day. Thomas was doing one of his daily call-in shows. If everybody isn't checking those out, I do recommend you tune in because there's always something interesting going on. There was a veteran who is a lender now. He was on the call-in, and he was calling because he had done a loan for somebody who's an officer in the military. I can't remember exactly what his rank was, but I seem to remember him saying that he was a lieutenant. So when this gentleman learned that he was currently in the military, he asked him if he knew about Q. Well, the gentleman said, "No, I don't know what you're talking about," but at the same time, he shook his head yes, kind of a misdirect. And then at the end of the lending procedure, he shook his hand and he said, "We all know about Q." I think that shows that we've got the military on our side, just like we've always thought. These people are part of the mission, and they have been involved for a long time, but now it's getting close. So here is the story from my friend Bob. Bob had an experience all his own, very personal. We're going to listen to that, and then we'll be right back with more news. All right, good evening, everyone. I am joined by a very special friend of mine, Bob. Bob had a interesting experience the other day, and we're going to go through it. He's going to tell us about it. Bob, before you tell us about what happened, why don't you give the audience a little bit of an introduction to yourself, who you are, what you feel comfortable telling us.
Hello, I'm Bob, fellow patriot, been following Q with a little bit of not 100% faith until Epstein was arrested, and I've kind of been up and trying to wake people up, and hasn't been good to me. But so it's been a little bit of a struggle, and don't have a lot of people to share it with other than the online community. And thankfully, people like Red Pill channel, lots of people on Twitter help make sense of it. And there's a lot of disinformation out there, and it's just hard to weed through it all. And sometimes you gotta have a little sense about you and you just believe and know and feel it. But anyways, I'm a realtor at the moment, and so I was working in an open house in the local, from the surrounding area. There's lots of Army reservist stations in the area. Was coming through an open house, get a lot of different public through it, and just doing my job, asking lots of questions when they come through. Had the conversation with a person and asked them what they did. It's normally the first question, small talking with a new client, and they were in law enforcement with a special unit, and I thanked them for their service to the community. You know, had the look of someone that served. So I asked the question and said, you know, did you serve in the military service? And they said yes. We were still in the Army Reserves, actually. And I asked about anything upcoming that they had to go do, you know, just offered that I'd be praying for him. He's like, actually, we're going to Guantanamo Bay in January 2020. And I, you know, I just perked up and I said, you know, couldn't help myself. I said, well, that's awesome. I said, if who I think's going to be there, I would do anything to give him your shoes, you know. And he just kind of chuckled and said, yeah, I know. And I said, oh, have you been following what's going on? They're like, yeah. And they mentioned that currently house 40 and looking to be filling it up with upwards of 1,000. And they're on a transportation unit. So another doc did for me, and just wanted to get the message out there. It just gave me a lot of calm and peace, because all this stuff is crazy. And if you don't have anybody to, you know, talk to about it other than, you know, just the online community, it's just all the people trust the plan, and it's all happening.
Heck yeah, it is. You know, it's great. You had mentioned earlier when we were talking, post 3538, which was a photograph of a couple of, I believe, people serving there at Guantanamo Bay. And we've heard in other posts about the upgrades that have been specifically made. And, you know, I've thought for a while that January 2020 date was going to be really important, because somebody had told me, you know, and I don't know how true it is, but that originally they were looking at making this move back in October of last year. But for whatever reason, they pushed it back. And I've always maintained that President Trump would want to use this, you know, this awakening specifically for 2020. Because if we don't get back in there in 2020 and President Trump isn't able to complete his agenda, get everything pushed through that we really need to happen, then we might end up, you know, going the way of Hillary Clinton again and losing the country, sliding back to what we used to be. So January, I thought, would be the perfect time, because that allows us to get through 2019 here. The Congress is going to be in recess. We know that they can't be arrested unless they're in recess. If they're in active session, they're not going to be able to do it. And the idea that they're going to be specifically bringing in 1,000 people, going from 40 to 1,000. It just makes so much sense that this would be the time that it would be happening. You know, we had heard before that they were specifically beefing up that, I believe, the geriatric unit. There's not a lot of geriatric people coming in from the Middle East, I would imagine, if you get my drift. You know, so if they're going to be filling up the geriatric unit, you know, that is probably sounding like a lot of people in Washington, D.C. So pretty excited about that. Now, you had you said that there was some other stuff that you had heard in the past about people beefing up there at Guantanamo Bay. Has there been anybody else that you spoke with that mentioned they were going there, or was this the first and only occasion that you spoke with somebody who was specifically going to be stationed there?
This is the first time I've ever spoke to like a service member face to face that said they're heading that way. Okay. I've heard news drops come in, you know, different sources, and it's hard to track back because I'm so active, that there was units from our state heading that way. It was like small local news blurbs.
Oh, okay.
But from my recollection, it was actually different units, different reserve units, different cities in the state I'm in.
Okay.
You know, and this individual was from somewhere else, so
okay,
it was cool. I was just saying they were excited about it.
Okay, sweet. Well, I just wanted to touch on what you said earlier about the difficulty that we have in this movement based upon, I guess, kind of the subject matter, the things that we're talking about, the things that we're doing. People are frankly a lot more comfortable when you don't push them out of their comfort zone. You put stuff like this out, and people will immediately shut down, or they will repeat back to you that mainstream media narrative, pretending like whatever it is, this information is not real, it's not taking place, because they're not hearing it from CNN, they're not hearing it from MSNBC or the Washington Post. So, you know, what do you want to say about that? You
mentioned something's funny because I'm into coaching. I'm always into personal development. And have some background in that. So nothing ever good happens in your comfort zone. It's just where you're lazy. So getting outside your comfort zone is where the magic is. And that kind of happened to me with this stuff. I'm in sales and, have a big social media following fairly for, the area and what I do, and put my stuff out there for both family and business. And because I'm in sales, it's, you say don't post about religion and don't post about politics, but my own religious experience with Q has been something else. I mean, I was raised Catholic and was pretty when I was younger, and I remember feeling the Holy Spirit every now and then, and when certain things were happening. Now that I've learned a lot of different things, I believe that, it's like everyone's got their own guardian angel. It's them touching your soul, or that's the Holy Spirit with you. And as you go on in life and just have to live in this world with all this mass evil, I had my own, journey, and just, say I'm still a Christian, and I said I was still, a religious person, but you just go on living and don't really realize all the evil that's around us. And we all kind of got poisoned by it, I believe. I had chased all these rabbit holes down the years, always questioned everything, never was like set off. When the Q came along, it's like all these dots started to connect. And when Epstein finally got arrested, I started getting loud. I was like, I can't sit back anymore. I was like, people need to start waking up. This is getting crazy. You're seeing all these people depressed and just all these people full of hate, and it affects people. That energy is it's everywhere, and you absorb it, and it's affecting our world, getting ready to go through a major shift. And some people are getting woke up earlier than others, and people need help. But this all brought me back to the Lord the more you pray. And I don't want to talk about religion and who your God is, whatever. I have mine. I follow Jesus Christ, and there's lots of good sayings. I've got a saying that the Indians follow about the bad wolf and the good wolf that live inside you. It's like the yin and yang. It's like anything, and it's you've got both these voices. And if you want to get really crazy and talk about the tainted bloodlines and everything, we all have good and we all have bad in us. And if you're not working on a relationship with God, that seed, that wolf, it's not growing, and so it just lets the other one take over. And the same thing, the more you sin, the more evil can take over. And when all these dots started to connect for me, and I came back to the Lord, I started praying again harder. I felt the Holy Spirit again touch me, and it happens when when I'm going down certain rabbit holes and I see certain truths. It's just like my guardian angel puts its hand on my shoulder, and I feel that energy through my body, and it's the coolest thing you could ever feel. And it's peaceful, it's graceful, and it's like, if you work on that relationship, it's, God will be there with you to help you kind of weed through all this madness. And if anything, I hope all this stuff just brings people more, back to it.
I agree. This is spiritual warfare. Okay. And
I try to tell people when I talk to them, I'm sorry, up here, Red Pill, but
no, you're good.
This, it's not political. This is biblical.
Absolutely. And, thinking like that, like I was saying earlier, we're on the front lines of this. So even though people may have turned away from us during, this entire awakening, the important thing is that we're still going to be there when they start to wake up. We're going to be there to educate them and to help them make sense of exactly where they're at, what's happening in this world, and, kind of help them reconcile the fact that they've missed it this entire time. Because like I said earlier, people don't want to step out of that comfort zone. But like, we are going to be there. All of us. Don't quit fighting. Continue to reach out to people. I'm really glad that you reached out to me on Twitter. I'm going to include your Twitter profile with the show notes on the video. So, everybody, go ahead, reach out, continue to make friendships, continue to, seek each other out. Like-minded people need other like-minded people, because the last thing we need is for us to become isolated in our real world environment and not connect. So, Bob, I just want to thank you very much for reaching out to me, for sharing your story.
Thank you, Red Pill. Do you mind?
All right, guys, absolutely incredible story from Bob there. Confirmation from someone who is going to be stationed at Guantanamo Bay. They are increasing the capacity in upwards of 1,000 individuals. And remember, it was the geriatric ward that they were building out. They're going to need space for a lot of older people. I do believe that these older people that are going to be there are the cabal in Washington, D.C., and beyond. This is going to happen, guys. I've often said that President Trump is going to need to do this by the end of this year, beginning of next year. It can't go too far into 2020, and it has to happen when there is a recess. All right, so next we've got a story about Edward Snowden. Now, also interesting timing, $35 million vanishes as payroll company abruptly closes. So a cloud-based payroll processing firm abruptly shut down operations this week, leaving hundreds of thousands of employees without paychecks, according to a report from Krebs on Security. New York-based MyPayroll HR allegedly vanished with nearly $35 million in payroll funds from customer firms, directly impacting employees who had been receiving direct deposits from the firm on a bi-weekly basis. Not only did money from payroll funds disappear, but so did money belonging to employees, according to the report. In some cases, employees were missing funds from 2 payroll periods. Now, as the FBI asks for information, companies are left grappling to find the resources to cover them. Here is a tweet from FBI Albany. As we continue to seek information regarding the alleged activities of MyPayroll HR and its affiliates, the FBI is asking all impacted business owners to please fill out the questionnaire link below. In a message sent to roughly 4,000 clients, MyPayroll HR said it would be closing its virtual doors. Companies who relied on the firm to process payroll payments were instructed to find another means to provide such services. Cache Financial Services, which facilitated payments to employee accounts for MyPayroll HR for the last 12 years, said it is owed $26 million by MyPayroll HR. Competing data processing companies such as ADP quickly offered their services. They said ADP is here and prepared to make your transition fast and easy. Cache Financial Services has not returned Fox Business's request for comment at the time of publication. So I think it begs the question, who are the people behind this company? What about the timing of this right here? Why did they just disappear with $35 million in payroll services? We've got the actual email here telling the companies that they were doing business for that they were not going to be paying their payroll payments. So let's take a look at that. All right, so right here, urgent payroll system update. Dear client, we regret to inform you that due to unforeseen circumstances, we are no longer able to process any further payroll transactions. Please find alternative methods for processing your payrolls. For any payroll batches submitted during this week, including any payroll reversals from last week, please be prepared to find an alternative method to pay employees. We are working to release any funds that are in transit as a result of this matter. We will provide you with updates via this medium as we receive them. Now, after sending this message, the people behind this company just absolutely disappeared, and the FBI is now looking for them. Where did that money go? Who are these people, and where did they go with this money? Obviously, these people that have been left without payroll checks and the companies themselves, they are extremely bad off right now. So I certainly hope that the FBI is able to get this money back and to deliver it to the employees who are owed it. All right. Also, Josh Campbell, James Comey's former assistant, former FBI supervisory agent, who now works for CNN, is out in the world talking about what took place during Crossfire Hurricane. So very, very interesting. All right, so apparently James Comey is quoted as saying no turning back now, and this is right before he went to that meeting at Trump Tower where he clearly tried to set up Donald Trump. Now, why is Josh Campbell out there talking about it? Is he bragging about the fact that they were trying to set up the president? Or is he trying to establish a narrative ahead of time because there is books coming out and a bunch of people are about to be indicted? I don't know. And thanks to my good friend Cyber, who sent this over, apparently McCabe's lawyers plan to call Eric Holder, John Brennan, James Clapper, and Susan Rice as character witnesses, according to a legal memo submitted to the Department of Justice last week. I think this is going to make for extremely interesting testimony, and we're definitely going to want to keep an eye on what they have to say about Andrew McCabe. I don't know how good this is going to be for him, but at least we're going to be able to get them under oath, and they're going to be asked some questions about hopefully some other aspects of the investigation. All right, and finally, President Trump is calling for Barry's book deal, Netflix deal, and the Congressional Slush Fund to be investigated. President Trump unleashed on Barry and the Democrats Monday morning in a tweet storm and called for the Department of Justice to investigate the former president's many sweetheart deals. Trump and the American people still have not forgotten about the Congressional Slush Fund, which was used to pay off harassment claims against lawmakers. And on Monday, the president called for that slush fund to be investigated. Great news. The House Judiciary has given up on the Mueller report, sadly for them, after 2 years and $40 million spent. Zero collusion, zero obstruction. So they say, okay, let's look at everything else and all of the deals that Trump has done over his lifetime. But it doesn't work that way. I have a better idea. Look at the Barry book deal or the ridiculous Netflix deal. Then look at all the deals made by Dems in Congress, the Congressional Slush Fund, and lastly, the IG reports. Take a look at them. Those investigations would be over fast, Trump said in a pair of tweets on Monday morning. Book deals, Netflix, and the Obama Foundation are just a few ways that the former president and his first lady have been able to enrich themselves since leaving the White House. In fact, the Obamers just purchased a $15 million estate in Martha's Vineyard. It pays to run a crime spree for 8 years. But the Democrats are bent on destroying Donald Trump and have launched several lawsuits against the president, claiming he is violating the Emoluments Clause. The Emoluments Clause is a provision that bars U.S. presidents from accepting gifts from foreign governments without permission from Congress first. Trump is losing money serving as U.S. president, and he donates his salary to various causes as a way to give back even more. A true servant of the American people. Trump fired off another pair of tweets slamming the former president again for his Netflix sweetheart deal. He said, they failed on the Mueller report, they failed on Robert Mueller's testimony, they failed on everything else, so now the Democrats are going to build a case that I enrich myself by being president. Good idea, except I will, and have always expected to, lose billions of dollars for the privilege of being your president and doing the best job that has been done in many decades. I am far beyond somebody paying for a hotel room for the evening or filling up a gas tank at an airport I do not own. These radical left Democrats are crazy. Obama, Netflix, absolutely unbelievable. All right, guys, I just want to say that I believe that's all I have for you today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.